Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's conference where we will discuss investment opportunities in Slovenia. My name is Marija Dragovic. I am a senior consultant at Spirit Slovenia, and I will be your host for today's event, which is being organized by Spirit Slovenia. The conference will be divided into three parts. We will be looking at the tourism sector, real estate, and innovation. In each part, we will be joined by an excellent panel of people who will give you a different but a very informative perspective on various investment opportunities. I would also like to remind our viewers that you are welcome to submit questions throughout this event, and we will do our best to answer as many of them as possible. If any of you are interested to have a B2B meeting with any of our participants, you will have received an email to register to a web networking portal where you can exchange messages with other participants and set up a meeting. So, before we begin, I would like to invite Dr. Tomaž Kostanjevec, the Acting Director of Spirit Slovenia, to help me open this conference with his welcoming remarks. Dr. Kostanjevec.
Hello and welcome to our virtual investment conference. Today you will get a better insight on why choosing Slovenia could be the best decision you ever made. The reasons are clear and simple. Slovenia's strategic position in the heart of Europe, highly skilled workforce, research and development capabilities, and high level of stability. Slovenia is also a great place to live in. The quality of life is high. The economy is dynamic and diversified. The companies are growing fast, and the country also enjoys sustainable growth. What else can we say about Slovenia? Why it is a perfect location for investments? What are Slovenia's advantages? Stay tuned and you will get all the answers. If you need more information, please do not hesitate to contact us. Spirit Slovenia, Slovenian Business Development Public Agency, operates as one-stop shop. Our services are tailor-made and free of charge. We are here for you. In the end, I wish you a successful conference and fruitful meetings. Have a great day and thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kostanjevec. Now let's get down to business. Slovenia has been capturing headlines worldwide as a destination that should be on every tourist bucket list. That is probably how most people recognize Slovenia, as a holiday destination. So it is only proper that we open the conference by looking at many investment opportunities in Slovenia in this sector. First, I would like to invite Ms. Carmen Novarlic, Head of Business Communications at Slovenia Tourist Board, to give us a glimpse of Slovenia and its many unique holiday offers. Ms. Novarlic, please go ahead.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, it's been my greatest pleasure to be with you today. Thank you very much to Spirit Agency for inviting us as the Slovenian Tourist Board to participate at this year's investment conference. Let's take a look shortly for the contents of my presentation. I'm going very briefly to straight a point on the strategy of sustainable growth. I'm going to mention the management at the national level, Slovenia Green and the story of Slovenia as a sustainable destination, and the road to recovery. But let's start. Slovenia and its strategy is based upon the fact that Slovenia is the Central European destination, and it is at the same time a perfect destination where four idyllic regions are meeting, the Alps, the Mediterranean, the Pannonian Plain, and the Karst. But let's go on. So in the heart of our country is based Ljubljana, our green capital, which is really easy accessible from near and long distance markets. This actual strategy is dividing Slovenia in four regions, and I'm very happy that today we do have representatives coming from different regions for this panel. So in Slovenia and in those regions, of course, the product development is diverse. For instance, in the Alpine region, we are developing mostly the outdoor products. In the Mediterranean and Karst, the products as wine and dine, the sun and sea. In Ljubljana, in the central Slovenia, it is ideal for culture, for history, for romance, and especially for the mice. And the thermal and Pannonian Plain is perfect, where you can experience different experiences for body, mind, and soul. What is our vision? Slovenia is a green boutique destination for five-star experiences. So this is the cornerstone of our, of course, vision. And if we are continuing, then you can see that we are trying really to establish a perfect balance in tourism together with our local community and the environment in order to create really a successful, sustainable story. But who is Slovenia for? I just briefly mentioned, I'm mentioning here some of the most, let's say, travelers coming to Slovenia. They are, of course, those one being green in their hearts, who have really a deep appreciation of nature, local resources, and non-mass destinations for perfect, authentic, and unique experiences to products which are not mass visited and places as well. But let's continue and let's see what is the formula of our sustainable marketing. So we do have a clear vision as presented. Slovenia is a boutique green destination for five-star experiences. We do have a clear goals and focuses which are oriented towards sustainable growth and higher added value. We are creating partnership among our key industry stakeholders and using in promotion all new possible platforms in order to reach our audience worldwide. Product portfolio of Slovenian tourism, which are the top three products? We do have a variety of others, but I would like to point out that in the first and most important group, actually we are developing Slovenian spas, Slovenia outdoor, and Slovenian meetings, which have the highest impact on image and the highest impact on the revenues as well. But let's see further on our management and growth. So who we are and in terms of the statistic, how was our record year last year? In 2019, we recorded almost 16 million of overnight stays. And also in terms of tourism exports, we were almost crossing 2 billion euro. But the most important thing was that Slovenia was above the world and European growth. Our top markets are still European markets, especially Germany, Italy, and Austria, followed by other European countries. And in the last years, we've been recording also dramatic and important growth in the United States of America, in Canada, in Asia, in the GCC countries as well, and looking forward to be back to those countries as soon as possible. How is tourism in Slovenia organized and structured? We do have a ministry responsible for tourism, which is the Ministry of Economic Development and Technology, and Directorate for Tourism, as well as the Slovenian Tourist Board, important and responsible for the promotion of Slovenia as a tourist destination. So this is a governmental, so on the governmental side, the most important players. That we do have also the tourism product level and destination level. We do have associations who are your next partners in terms of investment opportunities and possibilities in Slovenia. Let's go on. I would like also to go briefly a little bit deeper. Who are maybe your next product partners? Within the Slovenian outdoor product, we do have a special outdoor association. Within the Slovenian spas, we do have a Slovenian Spas Association and the Slovenian meetings. We have a Slovenian Congress Bureau. They can help you further on with the MICE and Congress industry as well. But also on the destination side, we do have 35 destination partners. I'm very happy that Ljubljana, Maribor are today also present within the panel, so they can serve you with excellent portfolios and possibilities of future investment possibilities. Our values, very shortly: green, digital, innovative, and always in partnership. Let's talk about the Slovenian green and our commitment to sustainability. The green is in our heart. We are acting upon a special green philosophy. Slovenia is green, as mostly of the territory, 60 and more percent is today covered by forest. We are acting green years ago. We created the special green scheme of Slovenian tourism, and we feel green, and we are communicating it through our promotional activities. The special green scheme of Slovenian tourism is a national program of development of sustainable tourism, a special certification program, which is ready on different levels, as we can notice it from the next slide, as the green scheme is today incorporated and ready for destinations, for service providers, and for parks. With the next slide, you can see we have more than 100 members, and the green chain is really very strong and growing year by year. Slovenia is the first also green country in the world. It was proclaimed, and we were very honored because of this. And ladies and gentlemen, what is our goal? Very simple, 100% green Slovenia. This is the philosophy that and on which we are working very hardly. But the next video, ladies and gentlemen, is a perfect one where we are sharing our green story, and let's relax and take a look of it.
Listen, traveler, it's too late to go back now. The forests have filled your lungs. Rivers run in your heart. You have set the course for the land so green and abound with unspoilt nature that you will never be the same. You have come to Slovenia to live hand in hand with these natural riches is a deep-rooted gratitude locals feel every day. The respect for nature shows in the way we think, live, and do. Slovenia Green is a unique story and a great lesson in sustainability for the rest of the world. It began with a pledge to preserve the pristine nature for us and for you. We set out on a long, steep path and became active guardians of our natural heritage. Local communities and tourist providers have all come together to build a unique model of sustainability in tourism. Over a decade, we put together a visionary policy that nurtures everyone by the table. Today, we are one of the world's greenest destinations. We encourage you to visit us by train, bike, or on foot. On your way, you will come to understand why we included the right to clean drinking water in our Constitution. We believe in responsible observation of the mysterious wildlife. The inhabitants of our ancient forests can teach us all how important it is to protect our planet. When your step becomes heavy, it is time to rest. We think green accommodation should be as close to stars, birds, and trees as possible. We believe in the green inspiration from one generation to another, from one traveler to another. It comes with a view that overwhelms. To know how to listen to a tree is for us a way of traveling too. You can never cross the same stream, walk the same forest path twice. Our commitment and enthusiasm for sustainable tourism have been contagious. Today, we stand united, together with you, dear traveler, under the vision of Green Slovenia.
I'm pretty sure that during these special moments you have reached our story, but to tell you more, it's not just being sustainable. it's it's important to have also a special supporting behind. And this is why we are at the moment working also very hard in terms of experiences and development of five-star experiences. And because of this, we created also a special unique Slovenia experiences recommendation program. It is a special bucket list where you can find authentic, unique experiences and premium quality products. And through them, we are today promoting the story of Green Boutique Slovenia. It is nowadays a new understanding of products and the new luxury in terms of experiences, in terms of personalization, in terms of being authentic, of being rare, in terms of being independent, convenient, and so on. And all this Slovenia has to offer today. Shortly, at the very end of my presentation, the road to recovery and our key projects, it is a special time. And this is why, together with our ministry and the other key stakeholders in tourism, we created a special roadmap to recovery based upon 5 pillars: ensuring safeness and unique experiences. Number 2, state support and business adjustments. Consumer understanding, we have to create a new segmentation, maximizing the use of digital technology and building new relationships. At the end of my presentation, just a short information relating also to the culinary gastronomy world. We are very proud because next year, Slovenia, it is a European region of gastronomy. And this year, it was an important year for Slovenia because Michelin recognized Slovenia for the first time, and Slovenia is for the first time included in Michelin also culinary guides. So, ladies and gentlemen, it was a short introduction in the tourism world of Slovenia, and looking forward to the panel, which we're going to start in a few moments' time.
Thank you, Ms. Novalic, for such a beautiful presentation. We will now move on to a panel discussion, and I would like to invite the rest of our distinguished guests to join Ms. Novalic. And they are Ms. Petra Stušek, Managing Director of Ljubljana Tourism. Hello. Mr. Sasha Arsenovic, the Mayor of City of Maribor. Welcome.
Hello.
And Mr. Vasja Cvetnik, pardon, Sales and Marketing Director at Termolimia. Welcome to you all. A few phrases in the opening presentation stood out. Pledge to preserve our nature, unique model of sustainability and tourism, one of the world's greenest destinations, great lessons for sustainability for the rest of the world. So how do we achieve that harmony between preserving our nature and increasing the number of tourists in our country? That is a question for Ms. Novalic first, and then the others, if you wouldn't mind commenting on that.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm opening the panel. So our goals from the beginning were very clear. A growth, yes, a growth, but a sustainable growth. I think this is the most important thing that you have to clarify, since from the beginning, we do have, and we have a clear vision, clear goals, market focus, partnership. Internally in Slovenia, we have really a very strong, very important partnership with all the tourism stakeholders, but also in the external world. If I'm looking back to the last 10 years, we were really hosting a variety of the most important, let's say, tourism exhibitions or tourism, let's say, travel trade or tour operators associations in Slovenia. And with having the right promotion in the last years, we almost doubled also our marketing funds, especially coming from and by the government. So all these were really the very good basis, stable basis on which this growth was, and it is still a very sustainable one.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Would anybody else like to comment? Maybe Mr. Arsenovic, how do you plan to preserve the beautiful nature of your city and to attract more tourists to come to Maribor?
This is Thank you for the opportunity. Hello to everybody. So this green is, of course, our goal, and the Maribor uh, is a privileged city with a lot of greens around the city, but we also have a big enough urban zone, so we can offer everything else. But we would like, of course, to prepare to preserve our green. So yeah, we go the same way. Of course, the video was very beautiful, so we could see how the whole potential of Slovenia, and see this region in some detox way. But let me please explain something about Maribor, if it's possible now. I
Of
think
course.
yeah, Maribor is a charming place with a deep cultural and historical roots, reaching far back into the Middle Ages. The city is located between the greens, forests of Pohore Mountain, a sunny wine-growing landscape, and the Drava River, which flows through it. Maribor is a green city and has one of the most beautiful urban parks in Slovenia, surrounded by wine-growing hills. So we host many cultural, entertainment, sport events and festivals. For example, our famous Land Festival in summer, and the Wine and Culinary Festival of the world's oldest wine. This wine is 450 years old. And we have also known Maribor Theatre Festival and some big sport events, Golden Fox in World Cup for women, and we organized few times also in these hard COVID times, mountain bike World Cup from the Pohore Hill down to the, let's say, center of the city.
Okay, well, how do you, yes, Mr. Chetnik, you were going to.
Yeah, I just want to relate it to your question, how about the growth of tourism.
Okay.
Yeah, I would just say a few words. So Slovenia is not densely populated, so we have a lot of hiding places and really a lot of opportunities to increase the number of tourists. But of course, I think that all we as touristic companies and investors has a responsibility that when we are planning the new investments, that we are already thinking about how to implement it in this beautiful nature. And this is, if you look, our company has an opportunity for 2,000 beds, but it's still not a mass tourism, because we, when we are planning the infrastructure and when we are building the accommodations and other facilities, we were really thinking about how not to harm this beautiful nature. And I think that we have still potential to growth, but we have to keep in mind to keep our really beautiful nature as it is.
Ms. Stušek, I will go back to you, Mr. Arsenovic, with a question. I'm just going to get Ms. Stušek to comment on this as well. Ljubljana has seen a huge increase of tourists over the last few years. And what are the plans now? How do we keep that harmony between nature and, getting as many people to enjoy the beauty of our city and our country? What are the plans in Ljubljana?
Even before the crisis, when you say huge increase of numbers, we still didn't get into, even to the edge of over tourism. So even before the crisis, we weren't focusing on increasing numbers. We were focusing on increasing quality of services, of tourism offer, of MICE industry. We have been implementing the sustainability practices in destination management for years, to the pleasure and to the business visitor. And that is what reflected on statistics and rising overnight numbers. And we actually understand the sustainable development as a fundamental conceptual approach. And that is what used to be, is now, and will be a competitive advantage of Ljubljana destination, actually of Slovenia in general, especially because sustainable tourism development will no longer be a choice-making issue. We strongly believe it will be a demand directed also by increasingly limited resources. And seeing it from this point of view, we see the pandemic as also as an opportunity, because guests will look for green, safe, less populated destinations. And that includes also our capital. You know, the global tourism actually in general has come to a standstill, and every city destination had to go through a fairly painful experience of what foreign tourism or foreign visitors mean to the destination. And not only the impact of the loss of arrivals and overnight stays, but to observe all of the indirect businesses being profoundly affected has actually shown us the how integrated we are in the global businesses. And by coincidence, we as Ljubljana Tourism and Ljubljana Municipality were preparing a new long-term strategy as the pandemic happened. And this gave us an opportunity to create a long-term plan of destination development with this particular pandemic in mind. And sustainable, green and clean destinations are perceived as safe. Okay. And this perception is crucial to restart the sector. And currently, we observe a lot of interest coming to Ljubljana on behalf of both business and leisure segments. And, you know, just to round up, it is actually fundamental that on national level, we make sure that we have an offer of a safe and simple access to the destination. For example, direct flight connections will be crucial here. We expect that people will be more inclined to take a direct flight instead of flying via hubs. Okay. And this will actually give us the base to increase the average stay and the average spending in the destination, which is also basis of a sustainable and organic development, which we are thriving to. And until now, we plan to keep in mind that it is the quality of life of us, the inhabitants of our city, and that plays a major role in promoting Ljubljana for foreign visitors. But we have a lot of plans in mind, from sustainable concierge up to a big gastro city, which would include all local ingredients. So a lot of plans.
Okay. Can I get others to join in terms of, you've mentioned promotion and how you're going to approach it. Ms. Novarlic, how do we approach promotion? You know, there are two things, obviously, as we talked about. There is preserving, I apologize, there is preserving the nature, and then there is also the current crisis. So what are the plans to, how do we promote Slovenia in 2021 and 2022, for example?
Of course, so ensuring of safety at the destination, this is the first and the most important thing. And this is something that we were working in the last months. The implementation of standards, of making a special handbook and a special label of being a green and safe destination. So safety comes at the first place. I'm coming from business, so I'm always trying to, you know, look from the business potential and how we should react very fast to this situation, even this year. So if we are changing, if we are looking back, let's say all the year, it was a constant change of, let's say, policies of our strategy, I don't know, based on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, on a half-year basis. Of course, we were optimistic at the very beginning. Then after some months, we all realized that this pandemic would not be such short as we would like to, but it's giving us a special challenge for future. So we have to adjust our business models on all levels. And this, I think, is the most important and the hardest thing, to change the way of living or working, everyday habits that we had. So this change was, and it is still very important to be rapid, to be fast. For Slovenia, as a small, let's say, destination, being not a very large country, I think it would be easier, let's say, to make these all necessary changes compared to maybe some other larger countries having maybe their structure of living, working, policy making processes maybe a little bit more complicated. Implementation, so after the crisis management, implementation of the recovery and resilience plans are coming definitely. And what we are seeing is really the huge dramatic impact of digitalization of business operations. It's not just about tourism, but it's about all the way of our lives that has changed, and will this digitalization will impact our lives also in the future. And for us, being, let's say, the most important partner on the national level, exchanging of data, of knowledge, and connecting our tourism industry stakeholders, this would be even more important in future.
Okay. Mr. Tretnik, can I turn to you as well, because your sector has been hit hard by the COVID crisis. So what are your plans going forward? How do you plan to promote thermolimia in 2021, 2022?
Okay, it was definitely hit hard, but I would say I'm working in tourism for more than 20 years, and it was the strangest year ever, because it was kind of in March, total lockdown. Then during the summer, we somehow managed to get a lot of guests, even more than last year. Then now it's again total lockdown. And I would say so for the future, the biggest problem for tourism and for us, which we are on the market, is unpredictable. We don't know what will happen, and we have the impact on our business has the decisions in not only from the tourist itself, but also from the governments, and not only our government, which has some regulations, but also the government of our markets where tourists come from. So this is the biggest problem, so which we are somehow solving, and we used to solve in the past that mostly of our marketing and promotional activities are online and digital, which can be really quickly changed. So if, I don't know, for instance, we have a big campaign in Italy, which is our main target country. And when there was a lockdown, we just stopped in one moment. And this action goes to some other market. So right now, this time we are preparing, we are doing some maintaining works. We also have 1.5 million euro investment in the renovation of our big restaurant, which is also the time in the lockdown. So I am positive about what is going to happen, because if we are looking for the human perspective, people are sick of being so-called home prisoned, and they are willing to travel, definitely. And I think that they are not so afraid of virus anymore. The vaccine is coming, and I think that tourism will recover even further than we think, because it's in our nature. We want to explore, we want to have some experience, and when it will be possible, of course, we will definitely, and also the other tourists will travel. That's why we are optimistic, and we are preparing for that. And I think that it will start in the beginning of next year.
Okay, Mr. Arsenovic, what about plans for Maribor in the next couple of years? What are the projects that you would like to see begin, or anything? What are your priorities in the next 2 years in terms of tourism?
Okay, maybe first of all, in my former life, I was also in this business, so I can very good understand. We have built also 2 boutique hotels, and we have 3 quality restaurants in my company. I see Slovenia has a big potential. We have some very successful stories, like Ljubljana, for example, as a city, and some others, of course, too. And the Maribor was a little bit sleepy in the last 10 years, but I think we have so big potential. And my first step was to build a cooperation with 26 different stakeholders 18 municipalities around the Pohore mountain, which is interviewed with hiking and cycling routes, and with big possibilities in everything what we are talking today. And because we are talking with investors, I would like to invite them to come to this part of beautiful Slovenia. And there are some hotels which are on the market. And with our good work with my team, I believe that we can build a very successful story for the investor and for, of course, for our people here. So Pohore, it's one of these goals. And of course, we have to make our city more beautiful as it was, and we are on the good way. There's still 150 projects ongoing and about 150 in next 2 years. So the city will change a little bit the face. It's also happened already. And this is our way. So, and I would like to connect this urban zone with our greens, which are around us. And the cycling is a big story, and our river Drava, which connect, of course, Italy, a little bit in Inihan, but more Austria with Croatia, and pass through our city. It's also a big potential for us. And of course, our location is very, very good. We have 5 airports around us, highways are all around, and we just have to build our story successfully with our partners, and this is our way.
Okay. Before, actually, can you just tell me briefly, Ms. Tušek, the projects that stand out currently in terms of tourism in Ljubljana? And then I want to move on to everyone, especially Ms. Novarlic. If you could tell me, you know, we have the Slovenian gems that everybody knows about. We know Ljubljana, Bled. What are the plans to, you know, there are lots of hidden gems around Slovenia. And are there any plans to promote those, and if there are, what are they? But first, Ms. Tušek, if you could just mention priority projects in Ljubljana.
Will do. Thank you for the question, but let me just touch with your, endings. We do have a lot of gems, but also a lot of obvious ones are still very on the plate to take opportunity of. For example, just between the 2 biggest cities, between Ljubljana and Maribor, are only, let's say, 1.5-hour drive direct highway. And we both have really great green surrounding with a lot of hidden gems in between. So, but the greatest part of this crisis is that we locals are now actually discovering also these hidden gems, because we are, as Vasa before highlighted, inclined to travel, and we Slovenians like to travel abroad as well. So now we are also discovering some of these hidden gems in our in our surroundings, and the locals are basically the best ambassadors of destinations in general. But to go to back to your question directed to me, there are actually several plans, developments relevant to our sector in Ljubljana, actually as well as for the broader economy and society. For example, the Cukrarna Gallery, the new one coming in 2 years, will provide us with the largest multi-purpose venue, and will hopefully be complemented by the construction of the new 3,000-seat hall at the GR, Gospodarsko razstavišče, Exhibition and Congress Center in the other part of the town. And Ljubljana has been actually successful at attracting fresh capital in the past several years, and these investments are most evident in the hotel sector, where several new developments are underway. For example, like Hotel 4 Points by Sheraton is completing an extension of 130 rooms, and a Slovenian company that already has a larger hotel in Ljubljana is investing in a new property zone, and also many smaller developments are happening within the boutique hotel segment. And none of these, a lot of these none of these actual investments has slowed down or stopped, which has also shown the trust in our sector. And we need to say that Ljubljana is actually an opportunity for development of 6-7-star hotels and investors striving towards high quality services for quite some time now. And we also need to say that we are very proud of a local business sector that, together with the academic sector and the thriving startup company, we have in technological park more than 300 startups just at this very moment. They all help creating a destination with many opportunities. And I have to emphasize also the UNESCO Center for Artificial Intelligence, which has its headquarters in Ljubljana since last year. And there are also some projects in the pipeline on the national level, which could be interesting for capital and perhaps as public-private partnership. The government has announced its support of the new railway station development called the Monica, right in the city center. And there is also a long-standing project of the university library and the plans for building government buildings close to fairly close to the city center. And these are all developments which could significantly boost the economy in the post-COVID times.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Novarlic, would you mind just telling us about promoting the other parts of Slovenia?
Yes, of course. As a National Tourist Board, of course, we have the responsibility to promote Slovenia as a tourist destination. Not only the most, let's say, known places, but also, especially in the last years, through special stories and what I was presenting during my presentation, the unique experiences. Let's say this is the way and the product approach, how we would like, to point out also some hidden gems. Through this variety, for instance, I would just point out maybe some of the experiences that you can, let's say, get in Slovenia. So through these recommendations and this bucket list, you can really get adventures that you could maybe not imagine that they are, or that somebody is offering them in Slovenia. For instance, we do have a special story, a soldier story from the Socha Izonco front. Then further on, discovering the natural habitat of bears. This is a story connected to the south and eastern part of Slovenia. They are actually together with us on the several exhibitions and fairs, but also through this kind of stories and natural habitats where bears you can meet still in Slovenia. So it's something that maybe you cannot get in any other countries. There are many adrenaline, let's say, vertical adventures that you can get, vintage gourmet tours. A lot of, let's say, new products are evolving and emerging in the eastern part of Slovenia, closely connected to the gastronomy world. Maybe, for instance, I can just point out another exceptional, let's say, adventure that you can get in Slovenia, a dreamy night in a high loft at a famous, let's say, homestead. So there are products, there are, let's say, underground gastronomic adventures, 160 meters below in Velenia, for instance. So there are really a variety of unforgettable days where Slovenia and is strong, and we see a big potential of this kind of new products coming also from the, let's say, southern or eastern part of Slovenia. So we're looking forward to excellent cooperation and partnership with them also along our marketing activities.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Tretnik, I want to ask you about, obviously, the wellness tourism in Slovenia. Termolimia is a well-known wellness center, and you offer excellent food, and you have services for elderly customers and congress tourism. What is it? And Slovenia is a well-known wellness destination as such. But what is it that sets it apart from other wellness destinations?
Yeah, I would say that Slovenia wellness destination, special about it is really high diversity. and unique special thermal waters, of course. But just going back to diversity, if you look, we have a spa in on seaside, we have spas in mountain, we have a Pannonian spa, we have a different spas on the countryside, and it's really we can offer to the tourist a lot this diversity, and beside that, we have more than 100 hundreds of different springs with different types of natural thermal water, which are itself healing for cardiovascular disease, for neurological problems, skin disease, etc., etc. This is just one part, the health part of our spa and wellness, but the other part is definitely very important in less days or in less years, which means that we are offering people coming to our spas, Slovenian spas, quality time to live with their loved ones, quality time to live with their families or their friends. And beside that, we are kind of, I would say, technically service for the body and soul, because in spas you have, like I said, like I mentioned before, they are placed all over the country, and beside using the offers and services inside the spa with thermal water, saunas, and procedures, they can take really nice walks or bike trips around. They can taste extraordinary and very delicious Slovenian cuisine, and all that is an experience that Slovenia wellness centers are offering their guests. And one more thing, which is very important for investors, it's a highly profitable sector. Why? Because we have these natural springs with hot waters. Hot water is the same temperature on the cold winter day or in the summer, and we are offering the all year round tourism with really, really low seasonality, which means that that's why also the Slovenia wellness centers produce approximately 1/3 of all Slovenia tourism income. So that's why I think we have a lot to offer. And I forgot to mention the one special thing, which is besides high skilled professional personnel in our spas, also the local wellness experience. We are mixing this, of course, beside all treatments with our unique thermal water. Each of Slovenian wellness has its own thermal water, also different local products like honey procedures, or even Glaško beer procedures, or sea salt on the seaside procedures, and so on. So I think that we have a lot to offer, and there's still our offer is very demanding on the market.
Thank you. Can I ask all of you, what is your vision for tourism sector in Slovenia in the next 5, 10, 20 years? And can I start with Ms. Tošek, please?
Our vision is the one that we actually already set before the crisis. We will just continue it, because it basically sets us on the goal of highlighting our DNA and continuing on this sustainability path is, and of course the boutique destination. That is our vision, and we are going to highlight that also in the future.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Ms. Novarlic?
Yeah, it is important definitely to stay on top of travelers' mind. And here it is important also what others are saying about you. I'm referring maybe to some global medias, and for instance, for next year, Condé Nast Travel says that Slovenia is the best holiday destination in 21. And this kind of statements, of course, will help us to push Slovenia even more in the next years. So, but I see Slovenia as really one of the top European tourism players, and a must-see destination in next 5 years for sure. Leading especially the way in this sustainable tourism.
Okay. Mr. Arsenovic? Where do you sit? Oh, we can't hear you at the moment.
Hello.
Oh,
No, you can
yeah,
hear me.
you're back.
I would agree with everything what Ms. Carmen Navarro said, but I would like to point out a little bit what are differences in Maribor. So I think we can offer more time and space at the moment, since Maribor is small and each location is easily accessible. You don't waste time in traffic jams. You can use this extra time for relaxing, spending it with your family and or for sport or for something. And this is in the way of really quality life. And the real estate and the land is available for a reasonable price at the moment. So this is because we are talking now to the investors. I would like to invite them once again to see this sleeping beauty. And I hope we will we have to starting to wake up and offering unexpected and beautiful moments. So let's start waking her up together, this beauty around Maribor and the Maribor city. So here is a big potential for investors. And I think with our work, we will find some good solutions together.
Okay, well said.
Of course, we will stand in this boutique tourism and quality and green and sustainable and all of these nice words, of course, which we live for. But once again, here are really big opportunities to invest.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Tretnik, would you like to add a comment to the vision 2025, 2030?
Yeah. I'm really optimistic and confident that we will prosper really good. Why? Because we have really quality life here in Slovenia. We can offer 5-star experience. And what makes me so confident and optimistic that every time when a tourist from some foreign country comes first time in Slovenia and stays here a few days, he just say, wow, I didn't know that. So I'm 100% confident that we will go over this COVID crisis and the tourism will grow in Slovenia, and we will have to become the place where we should be, the #1 in Europe, definitely, if not world.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you all so much for such insightful views and comments. I do have one more question, if I may, but can you just give me a brief answer, because we only have a few minutes left. Just on the opportunities in new innovative products that came to service with the current crisis. Are there any? Do you see any? Who would like to answer that? Ms. Tushek?
Well, the answer is fairly obvious, which is digitalization, but it's now it's going to be what do you do with it? For example, it is a great opportunity to highlight your cultural heritage through all the endless virtual virtual space possibilities. Even the showing the dreams of the greatest architect, for example, like our Mr. Plečnik is, and that was not, that was actually not built, but it's very impressive to see. We can all show that now and, you know, even have fun with it.
Lovely, thank you. Would anybody else like to add anything? Or no? Okay. Well, we have a question from the one of the viewers, and hopefully I will be able to read it. Sustainable development is the only right concept of development for business and for life as well. And that means I'm convinced already, thanks to your presentation, that your country is good good place for a new business. How can I get in touch with someone who would like to invest in dreams, which I would like to bring to your country? I'm interested in developing new fashion brands, which will be known worldwide. Well, you can get in touch with Spirit Slovenia, or you can get in touch with, I don't know if Ljubljana Tourism or the mayor of Maribor is the right person, but Spirit Slovenia, I think, is the right contact for you. You can find us on the website. With that, thank you very much. Thanks to all our panelists, and thank you to our viewers as well. I hope our panelists have answered some of your questions. If you have any other questions and if you need any further information, please get in touch either with us or directly with them. And now we will have a short break. We will be back shortly in 5 minutes when we will discuss current opportunities in Slovenia's real estate and commercial development sector. See you in a bit.
Those who trust us appreciate our great geostrategic location. In the last 2 decades, we've also proven ourselves as a trustworthy business partner. Technologically advanced, sustainable, and innovative products helped us boost that trust and made us one of the fastest growing CEE countries. As well as a valued member of leading international associations. Trust in cutting-edge, sustainable, and innovative products established our companies as global leaders in niche markets. We've become an important R&D player in the region. Because we know that innovative business needs innovative people. Who have a talent for creating value. Our open, stable, and competitive FDI environment, recognized by many global companies. Starting a business is fast and simple. Apart from pro-business climate, Slovenia is a perfect environment to work and live in. Slovenia, a land of infinite potential for your business. Make the most of it.
My first experience of Slovenia was so much more than I expected. I had to come back. Now that I've been here a few times, I know this much. It might be small in size, but it's big in its achievements. Now I know it's green. And not only because forests cover more than half its land, but because everyone is working to protect the environment. From innovative pioneers in light aviation to greenhouses heated with geothermal water, while smart sensors control its production. And creators of self-sustainable zero-emission houses that are in complete sync with nature. Now I also know that it's creative. Not just because of its unique achievements in sustainable construction engineering, but also because it manufactures sports equipment for champions the world over. But Slovenia isn't just green or just creative. It's a fun-loving and free country where groundbreaking ideas come to life. And it's smart. Because Slovenia's know-how is used for automotive testing. And every single car in the world has at least one component made in Slovenia. And because it's one of the leading manufacturers of generic pharmaceuticals. Of course, Slovenia is already famous for its hospitality and locally grown food. And its engineers never stop working on cutting-edge automation. While its companies constantly push the barriers in technological innovation. And all because of its brilliant people, educated and reliable, multilingual and talented, who can improve the quality of your life or even help you reach the stars. Now I've been here, I know that Slovenia is a land of infinite potential with fantastic opportunities. Which one will you take? Slovenia, a land of infinite potential for your business. Make the most of it.
Welcome back. As I mentioned earlier, in this session, we will look at the real estate sector in Slovenia and the investment possibilities within it. I will be joined again by a panel of experts who will help highlight different opportunities in the sector. But first, I would like to invite Mr. Boštjan Udovic, Director of Real Estate Association of Slovenia, to give a short presentation of the current situation in the sector. Mr. Udovic, the screen is yours.
Good morning, colleagues. My name is Boštjan Udovic, and I'm the Director of the Real Estate Association of Slovenia. A year ago, I would have a hard time speaking to you about investment opportunities in Slovenia in the real estate sector, but some things have changed and I feel much more optimistic today. I think you should too. First, I would like to thank the organizer on the invitation that gives me the opportunity to speak about the condition of the real estate sector and my forecast for the relatively near future. In my presentation, I will go through some facts, but I won't be able to go into details, so we can discuss some of those after the presentation. Some of the slides aren't fully translated because I borrowed them from a colleague, Dr. Simon Starček, and they're integrated as pictures. I will try to explain them through the presentation though. I think Slovenia's real estate sector is facing some challenges, especially in the residential segment. We can also look at them as excellent investment opportunities. As Real Estate Association of Slovenia, we see quite a lot of potential in connecting investors, which would make achieving some goals a lot easier. However, we also expect some important actions from the state. There are some facts I wanted to throw out there at the beginning. Low non-profit rent for public housing hasn't changed since 2007, which means high demand for public apartments, but low revenue and covert social transfers. It's also bad for competitiveness. At the same time, we are faced with a very high ownership percentage, which is slowing down the rental market, and it has proven to be bad for building maintenance because a lot of the owners don't have the needed funds. Demand is very concentrated in some regions. I will show you that a bit later. That puts additional pressure on prices. And we also have a lot of empty units. Main reasons for that are low property tax, high rent tax, poor owner protection, bad locations, and large houses. In 2018, there were more than 850,000, of which more than 150,000 were officially empty. Around 30% of people lived in multi-apartment buildings, but only 7.7% of units were officially rented, and the numbers are constantly decreasing. Around 116,000 units were occupied by people of 65 years or older, more than half of those only by one person. 162,000 units were inhabited by one person. Average floor area of those units is 64 square meters. Next, I will show you some numerical data. First, you can see the change of the average floor area of residential units since 1971. As you can see, it has risen from 57 square meters to more than 80. On this slide, you can see the percentage of units by year they were built. You can see that most of them are around 40 to 50 years old. Average floor area of units hasn't changed much in the last 20 years though. The number of issued building permits also hasn't changed much in the last 20 years, with the exception of the decrease in the years after the economic crisis in 2008. This next slide is very interesting for investors since it shows the percentage of empty units in different parts of the country. The blue color means less than 10% and the dark red more than 40. We can definitely see that the larger percentage of empty units are located in areas that aren't as desirable for living. The fewest empty units are located in the central region. It's also quite interesting that there is quite a lot of empty units in the coastal region, which probably means a lot of holiday units are considered empty. If we look at the residential real estate market, we can see that sales are stable in the years since the crisis of 2008. They started rising in 2015 and have grown for about 20% since. Same goes for prices. Sales of new units have dropped considerably for almost 50% in the same period, though there is currently quite some active projects, so I expect the numbers to rise in the next couple of years. There is still a predominant interest in buying over renting real estate in Slovenia, but there is a strategic interest in increasing the rental market, most notably set in the resolution of the National Housing Program 2015-25 that was accepted in 2015. Currently, only 7.7% of units are officially rented out. Stats show that there is 11.5% of so-called user units, which are not inhabited by the owner, but aren't rented either. There is probably quite some illegal renting hidden in this category. High rent tax and bad owner protections are among the main reasons for low interest for renting. On the next slide, you can see how the number of rental units have been dropping since year 2011 in the public as well as the private sector. The state has a strong interest in reversing the trend, but some actions will be required. The next graphic shows the distribution of the rental units over the country, blue color being less than 2.5% and red being more than 16%. Next slide shows the percentage of residential units owned by the public sector, where the red color means there are more than 11% of publicly owned units. You can see how low the percentage of rental units is almost across the whole country, with just a few exceptions. The next picture is very similar since it shows the percentage of publicly owned rental units. Of course, the percentages are much higher here. In some areas, more than 85% of all rental units are publicly owned. Those percentages fall significantly in areas with tourist potential and with living desirability. As far as the commercial real estate market is concerned, it has been stable since 2015. There are around 2,000 to 2,500 contracts a year. Prices for offices have dropped for around 10% in the same period, while the drop for retail space was even more significant, around 30%. In 2019, there have been some major sell and lease back contracts for bigger shopping centers. There is also some uncertainty regarding the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the real estate market. The commercial real estate market is stable and doesn't offer much upside. There are also some risks connected with the post-COVID-19 reality. There is, however, a lot of potential for growth of residential real estate rental market, especially in the field of housing for the elderly, also called serviced housing, financing the public housing projects, and in the field of commercial rental housing. On the other hand, there is a lot to be done to increase the interest of investors even more, like lowering the rent tax, better owner protection, faster administrative procedures, investors' cooperation, etc. The next couple of slides show the Slovenian rental market based on the analysis of data from the biggest real estate advertising webpage. You can see the percentage of ads by floor area of the unit, the number of ads by region, distribution of ads by number of rooms, and average advertised rent. You can see that the majority of all ads for rent are for units in central region, mainly municipality of Ljubljana and in coastal region. The data regarding average advertised rent is also very interesting. The average rent varies from 13 to almost 17 euros per square meter, depending on the size of the unit. There are, however, big differences between the cheapest and costliest units. Probably that has a lot to do with the micro-location of the unit and its condition. Currently, non-profit varies from 390 to 412 euros per square meter, depending on the size of the apartment. There is a bill proposal in place that would raise that numbers from 519 to 549 euros per square meter. But the difference between that and the average advertised rent on the market, shown on the previous slide, ranging from 13 to 17 euros per square meter, is still substantial. The same bill would also introduce the public rental service, which would provide some kind of an intermediary between private owners and the state. Some other EU countries also know this type of service. In any case, there is a lot of opportunities for investors that would like a secure investment, but do not mind somewhat lower return rates. From the standpoint of the Real Association of Slovenia, formal cooperation among investors would be important to reach the needed improvements sooner. Thank you for now, and I will be glad to answer any questions in the debate.
Thank you so much, Mr. Udovic. Now let's meet the rest of our panel. Mr. Žiga Pfeiffer, Head of Real Estate Portfolio at Bank Assessment Management. Mr. Boštjan Blatnik, Head of Commercial Real Estate at ABC Real Estate. And Mr. Tadej Beočanin, Mayor of City of Ajdovščina. Welcome to you all. Mr. Udovic, there are a lot of figures in your presentation. Can you pinpoint where do you see the biggest opportunities for investors in the real estate sector in Slovenia at the moment?
Well, as I mentioned, there is a big shortage of residential units in Slovenia, despite a lot of empty units being shown in the statistics. Public sector doesn't really have enough resources at the moment to address those needs. And I think it will never be able to completely cover the demand. Mm-hmm. Private sector, on the other hand, has been so far only interested in building residential real estate for sale. I think the opportunities can be found in the rental market as well, especially if we manage to secure the changes we need. There is also a big need for units for the elderly and for residential real estate in general. Maybe the return rates, as I said, cannot be very high, but this investment can be very secure.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you mentioned residential, but is there any others? Are there any particular areas where these opportunities stand out, or are they concentrated in one area, or are they spread out across Slovenia? Mr. Udovic, sorry, yes, for you.
Well, I think the demand is very concentrated. I pointed that in my presentation. Ljubljana or central region and also the coastal region. But I think opportunities can be found also in some other regions. Maybe other colleagues can tell more about that. But yeah, of course, demand is very centralized.
Okay. What about the others on the panel? How would you, where do you think are the biggest opportunities in your opinion? Mr. Pfeiffer, if I can start with you.
Yes, of course. Hello also from my side.
Hi.
As for of opportunities, regardless of the fact that our certain properties are specific, they were like non-performing assets in the past, I believe that I can directly connect the opportunities in the sector with our carried out sales in the last year and by the demand in our real estate portfolio, especially because our portfolio is one of the biggest in Slovenia. We have really diverse portfolio of about 300 own real estates all over Slovenia, not only in central Slovenia, in value more than 200 million euro, and about at least twice more in a value assets in collateral. All our assets are highly exposed to the media, so feedback which we get from the market should be a really good indicator for trends, I believe. But as applies actually to all real estates, not only ours. Of course, the best opportunities, as already mentioned, are those on good locations, of course. But to be specific about our demand and realized sales in the past, we have constantly great demand for the purchase of office and retail space occupied by tenants, not only in Ljubljana, but also in other bigger cities like Maribor, and even in smaller like Velenje and others. I believe that also other will agree that there is huge opportunity still in Slovenia with warehouses and land plots for development of logistic activities. We have like one in near Brnik. But beside that, especially this year, which is really interesting because the Corona crisis, there was a huge demand also for land plots for construction of residential buildings, where investors were looking for larger land plots on premium locations, like already said in Ljubljana, and also on the coast, especially I would say in Isola, maybe Portorož, and as also already mentioned, the demand for shelter housing buildings is increasing every year.
Okay, Mr. Blatnik, from your experience, where do you see the biggest opportunities at the moment? We can't hear you. Sorry. Can we just check the...
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for asking the question. Yes, I'm coming from ABC Real Estate. We are specialized to mediation of all types of real estate in Slovenia. So right now we are talking about residential and commercial real estate. As my colleagues already said, we have demand in Slovenia for all kinds of the properties from foreign investors, such invest to some land for offices, for residential, or maybe also for what is very good for a new production line, a big factory or factories in Slovenia. They want to come, investors want to come to Slovenia because we are very nice people, and we have a very high education, good workers, and that's the best solution for them.
And we know how to promote ourselves. Mr. Beocanin, I want to ask you just to tweak this question a little bit, because you come from Ajdovščina, and you are an example of a successful municipality. You managed to attract a lot of business to your municipality, and that also increased the demand for apartments. Can you tell me, where do you see, and just speaking from your own experience, where do you see the demand going forward, and hence the opportunities going forward as well?
Good morning. The most of opportunities that we see in our municipality and in the Vipava Valley are definitely connected with the rising number of working positions here in the city of Ajdovščina and in the municipality as a whole. There is really a big demand on apartment buildings, on apartments. So for sure, there is one very huge opportunity for construction of residential buildings. The second field where I also see quite a lot of potential is the field of tourism, where we actually notice more and more tourists coming to the Vipava Valley, which is a very beautiful destination. And therefore, we are noticing a lack of accommodation facilities. So also in the field of tourism, the investments, such as investments in hotels and so on, are for sure a big opportunity.
Do you have any projects at the moment in terms of hotels and to address this need?
Yes, we have prepared two projects for the hotels, one in the city center of Ajdovščina and one more in the suburbs, so in Predmeja, which is a small village on the mountain that we call Gora. So there are two projects actually ready to launch, where we have done already the feasibility studies and so on. So we are really seeking for investors for these two projects, for example, in the field of tourism.
Okay. Mr. Udovic, I want to go back to you, and then and everyone else, actually. I want to ask about the commercial property. Sorry to be jumping from one subject to the other, but you mentioned the prices have been stable, but they've dropped down a little bit now during the crisis. What do you expect to happen now post, well, I can't say post-COVID, but in the next couple of years in the sector?
Well, I think that it's hard to predict at this point. Some projections show that not much will change. Companies will still need similar amount of floor space, but its structure will be different. On the other hand, we know that working habits and regimes will change. I think we will have to wait and see, but there is definitely the uncertainty factor in the commercial real estate sector, especially if I try to go into that field, in the field of tourism. I think we really have to wait to see how things change after this pandemic. But definitely there is a big amount of uncertainty. Maybe other colleagues can tell more about their perspective.
Okay, what about the office space? What has been, what are the trends now in Slovenia? I know a lot of people are working from home, but what do you see? Are there any indications of what the demand will be after the crisis, after this is all over? Mr. Pfeiffer, can I ask you?
Yes, of course. First of all, what is really interesting, I could not agree with this Corona crisis, how this reflected directly to our portfolio. It's really interesting that we really didn't feel any huge impact of this year. We actually did quite a lot of sales also on commercial field, not only on residential. And as I already said before, especially in this logistic type of real estate. I believe also in the future, the opportunities will be more connected with this kind of the commercial real estate, because I believe that sale over internet will increase, and the need for warehouses will increase. So this kind of the real estate will be for sure in demand in the future. But as of clear office and retail space, I would agree what already was said before.
Okay, Mr. Blatnik, what about you? What are your thoughts, and what is your experience?
We're talking about some offices in Ljubljana or maybe in all around Slovenia. We could say that maybe some new investors who will come and make a new office buildings, high class, I believe. I also believe that they will focus on that project on community and environment, and also to not just to look for maximize the profits. That's the global trend. I hope that we get that trend also in Slovenia. Also, I want to say about the existing office buildings. There's some problems with the buildings because right now, maybe instead of COVID or some other things, that buildings have to prepare to not more for open space, but now we are looking for or tenants looking for one rooms for one employee or for two employee, and that's a big problem right now with for the existing office buildings. Otherwise, if you are talking about the logistic, yes, I agree with Mr. Žiga. We don't have any, we still have a very good demand for that, for logistic in Slovenia. I think but today is the time that we have to look for the logistic for last mile. It's very important because we have some obligation now about 1 kilometer around the home or around the office. And what we need in that 1 kilometer, we need supermarket, transport connection, natural green space, parks and restaurant. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What about, can I go back to, you mentioned the problems with the office spaces. So the demand is changing, if I understand it properly. The demand is now for smaller spaces. That's what about, is that what you mean by that? Is it co-working spaces? Are people looking for co-working environment? And is
yes.
that something that's missing?
Maybe it's not just co-working. I think as soon as possible we can get some model like Airbnb for offices. That will be a new model. We know how they work, how that model works in residential for tourists, and I think it will come soon also for such kind of offices, because we have a lot of some small offices around Ljubljana, around all the city, and now we have to connect them with some platform, and that's, I think it's very good in the future.
Okay, so Airbnb type offices are coming.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Bocanin, I want to ask you about the commercial properties in Ajdovština. You mentioned the tourist possibilities, but what's happening in terms of commercial in your municipality? What are the plans, and what's the availability, what's lacking, and what are the projects currently that you have ready and that you have in the plans for the next in the next period?
Well, due to really tremendous growth of economy, we mainly lack the production facilities. Just to give you a couple of examples, we now actually have none warehouses or production facilities available to rent or to buy. So it's really a huge demand for these premises. However, there are none that could be rented or bought right now in the market. So for sure, these kind of premises, especially for production facilities, are really a great opportunity in our municipality. Also, we have in the past years opened quite some of the new commercial zones, industrial zones, where actually all of the plots, land plots, are already sold, and where different kind of companies are building new premises, some for production and some also for the office use. Also, they are not building just offices, for example, for themselves. They are building bigger projects where they will put also, or where they will rent also these offices to other companies. So we have really, I would say, a dynamic field of real estate right now in Ajdovština, especially connected with these areas. However, still there is a big demand on the market. So I believe many new projects will happen also in the future. Also, we as the municipality, we will establish so-called hub for new companies, where we will give where we will actually make the possibilities of renting warehouses, workshops, and so on. So these are the main opportunities in the field of commercial buildings.
When you say a hub, what does that mean exactly? And they will be using spaces for reduced price, or?
Yes, also it is meant to be built for the new companies that are just entering the market, where they will be able to rent these facilities for a short period of time, for example, for 5 years. And then when they actually pass this starting period of the company, they will have to move out of this hub because it is meant to be built for the really companies that are just entering the market.
Mm-hmm. Is there a plan post-hub?
For sure. Also, there is a plan for post-hub. However, we are predicting that they will be, after this year's, from the beginning, they will be able to go on their own, to say it this way, so to build their own premises and so on. Mm-hmm. The biggest problem now that we have when it comes to the commercial zones is actually that we also have a huge lack of plots available for the new investors. So that's why also the municipality will in 2021 start the process of actually gaining new industrial zones and also expanding the ones that are already established. So we will have to work quite close with our government, state government, really to achieve I would say, optimistic spatial plan in order to really give enough possibilities for all the companies that want to come to Ajdovščina and start their businesses here or expand their businesses here also has possibilities.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Pfeiffer, I want to ask you about you mentioned the logistics demand for logistics spaces. Can you tell me, what do you have in your portfolio now that stands out? Any projects in those, in that sense that you would like to mention here?
Actually, as I already said before, our portfolio is really diverse and not focused only on logistic.
Yeah.
Our best locations for logistic were actually already sold within the last 2 years. Therefore, I've mentioned that there is really great demand for these projects. We have still few I would say, not so big assets for logistic, but we have really opportunities on other area like residential and other commercial real estates all over Slovenia.
Are there any that you would like to mention?
Yes, maybe. Can I? Yes.
Yes, Mr. Blatny, go ahead.
Yes, yes. Talking about logistic location in some properties we have, maybe if I talk something about hub you have in Ajdovščina and some other things in the new location, maybe we need in Slovenia that connect the city, connect the hub center and make a big bubbles, we can say. And if we, about the logistic, we have a few opportunity. We have in mind some brownfield. We still have in Slovenia a few brownfields, very good location, very good infrastructure.
Where are they? Would you mention just a couple of locations at least?
Yes, maybe one, the biggest is 20 hectares area is ex-factory, sugar factory in Ormož. Then we have about 9 hectares area in Kranj, ex-factory textile industry. That's for logistic or some mixed programs, commercial program. It depends, but the local government is very, you can get maybe what investors want to do. It's prepared to listen them. And also we have a very big brownfield area for tourism, like due to be have in Izola. We talked about ex-Merkur location, ex-Ladjedelnica location, ex-Dela Maris. We have a few. That's brownfield. I really want that we recognize that location and that we find investors, foreign investors to come on that area.
Okay, presumably all those projects are on your website as well.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Pfeiffer, yes,
yes,
can you
yes,
just...
maybe if I can add, as we already speak with concrete projects, I already mentioned before the prior presentation, we have several good opportunities, and as far as logistic, it was already mentioned before our land plot in Brnik. When I was here, hearing all the opportunities, I believe that this can be pointed out. We have, I believe, a bit 80,000 square meters of area there, just beside the main airport in Slovenia. And I believe that logistic just before, beside the airport and in where is the highway, really actually there, I believe this location is good. But we have also other locations in Ljubljana, Dolsko. I believe that actually all our these major projects are also available on your website. So investor can also take a look of them. Of course, I will be also available if there will be demand for additional information of any of them.
Okay, as you had, the projects are on Spirit Slovenia's website as well as on the BMCA's website too. Okay, when we talk about real estate, in Great Britain, they always say it's all about three things: location, location, and location. Slovenia as a location, how does it stand out when investors are thinking about investing in this sector? How does Slovenia stand out compared to its neighbors, I would say, because they are our biggest competitors as well? Can I start with you, Mr. Udovic?
Well, I think we all know that the geostrategic location of Slovenia is almost perfect, especially for logistics and similar activities. Otherwise, I don't think, the thing I was saying before, residential, maybe I'm pushing the residential real estate agenda a bit more than the others because we work in that field so much and we see so much potential and demand. But as far as economy is concerned or commercial real estate in general, I think the location of Slovenia speaks for itself. And it's not really that important which part of Slovenia. We see that big investors can decide to go wherever because it's so small and well connected, I think. So I don't really divide it so much from that point.
Okay. Mr. Fahel, would you like to comment on that?
Yes. As far as residential real estates, I would agree that our advantage in Slovenia is that we are really small and accessibility. Regardless where the location of the real estate is, the distance to other interesting locations in Slovenia is relatively small, I believe, compared to location in some other countries. Let's say you are from Ljubljana, where there is a lot of opportunities in a residential area. You're in 1 hour on the coast for swimming, or in 1 hour in Kranjska Gora for skiing, also in other neighbor countries. So I believe this is, as far as residential location, really important. As far as commercial real estate, as already mentioned, to Slovenia, there is important transport connection, mainly from the port of Koper, and all the locations beside the highway, they are really good. Maybe what is also our advantage is that, especially where investors goes to start to develop the projects from the beginning, is that our procedures for development are clear, transparent, and foreign investor actually can start projects by themselves without greater local support. Of course, it's always needed, but maybe not so much, especially for other countries in ex-EU region.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Mr. Blatnik, would you like to comment?
I agree with the colleagues. The investors compare with Slovenia with other EU country, and I said the first time we have people. We have very good workers, high education, and that's for my opinion, the best solution. Why they choose Slovenia to invest. We saw Yaskava come, we saw Lostrov and some other big company come, and that's the possibility. And if we can connect them and to confirm them some how can get supply for employee and for some elements, then they choose our country.
Thank you. Mr. Bocin, would you like to add a comment to this?
Yeah, definitely. Well, Slovenia has actually a great strategic geographical position in Europe. We are actually on the way, the shortest way from the east to the Western Europe. And also Ajdovščina actually lies on the highway that connects the Eastern and Western Europe. For example, from the city of Aidovština, there is 30 minutes drive to the port of Koper. There is 1.5 hour drive to Venice. There is 4 hour drive to Vienna, for example. So really, one of the biggest advantages of Slovenia is definitely its position. And of course, then there is the advantage that we have as, I would say, as a strategic partner to the Western Balkan countries and so on. So it's really a lot of opportunities that we have as a country.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to ask you now, where do you think, where do you see the demand going in the next 5 to 10 years? In all different segments, in commercial and covering logistics, covering tourism, and then in also in residential. How will things change and how will they evolve? Mr. Udovic, can I?
Yeah, well, each of those fields has its own specifics. I think, let's say for tourism, we will have to wait what happens after the COVID crisis. I think tourism will come back to the level it was before, but it will take some time. So tourist investments or investment in tourist real estate will depend a lot on that. I'm not frightened about that, but it might take some time. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, as far as industrial investments are concerned, it more or less depends on the situation, on conditions investors can get in Slovenia. We saw, colleagues have said before, that in the last couple of years, there were quite some big projects, big investors that came to Slovenia. So apparently they recognize this potential of our country. Let's say the know-how, the knowledge, the workers, as well as apparently the tax situation. But those things can change pretty quickly, and they can change also for the negative. I expect them to change in the positive because I'm optimistic, and some impulses lately have shown that. As far as residential real estate is concerned, I don't think there will be many changes. We can see the trends, and I think they won't change much in the next couple of years. But the demand is still much higher than what we can offer, what the market can offer. So it all depends if investors will see the potential in residential market. And then the offer can also rise, and we can I don't know, supply a bit more real estate for the demand.
Okay, before I move on to Mr. Pfeiffer to answer the same question, can I just interject there? When you talk about demand for residential properties, is that from the local inhabitants, or does that come from foreign investors as well who are looking for rental business?
Well, both. I think most of the demand comes from local residents, people looking for their living, for their residency for life. But as far as foreign investors are concerned, I think they can see the opportunity to invest fund in this field. I don't see foreign investors as those that demand or are looking for flats or for houses.
No, I meant as in small, so. Yeah, smaller investors. Sorry, yeah, okay. Thank you, sorry about that. Mr. Pfeiffer, can you tell me, what do you think, how do you see the market, commercial and residential, evolving in the next 5-10 years? Where do you think the opportunities will be as well? And can we hear?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I would agree what was already said. Maybe just to add something about residential real estate in the future. There will be always interesting location in the center of our capital, Ljubljana. There will be for sure demand in the future. There is not so many available locations there still, but there will be some in the future. Also, we have some of the less premium location there. But I believe the trend will be also for location in periphery of Ljubljana, near the highway ring. because all the dislocation around the Ljubljana, they have really good connection to the city center. And I believe that people will start to live more also in this area. And as already mentioned, in Ljubljana, there is now planned thousands of new apartments, but the demand in Ljubljana is always greater than supply. Also, all future planned project, I believe that they won't be enough for the demand which will be in Ljubljana. So for Ljubljana, for sure, there is the biggest opportunity in Slovenia, but also other cities. But maybe for foreign investors, more bigger cities in Slovenia, maybe also Maribor and the coast, but especially Ljubljana. As far as commercial logistics, as already said many times before, maybe I'm thinking in this way because of this Corona crisis, because everybody are now at home and buying over the internet. But for sure, the trend will be with or without Corona, focus in this online shopping. And for this, there will be need for sure for logistic warehouses. So maybe the trend will go also in this way. As far as office and especially office area, I believe not so as a trend, but there will be opportunity in Slovenia for bigger office premises. There are no locations, especially in Ljubljana, where thousands of empty area are available for on one location. So maybe more as an opportunity as a trend in the future for this also.
Do you expect the prices to go down? I mean, you mentioned in your presentation they've dropped. Yes, Mr. Udovic, can I go back to you and then I'll, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I didn't emphasize this before, but of course, COVID-19 situation have the effect also on residential units because the demand can disperse through the country because of the, let's say, because of working from home and other specifics. If that changes, then of course we can address several questions by that, and that can have its influence also on the drop of the prices. We saw before in my presentation that there are a lot of empty units outside of the central region, let's say in the suburbs or in the rural areas. And if people recognize that potential of those residential units, of course they can get them cheaper, and that would push the prices down. I also think that is in the strategic interest of the state to use the empty units first before building new ones. For now, the demand is really strong in Ljubljana, in the central region, and I don't see that changing really quickly.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Mr. Pfeiffer, would you like to add? Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Maybe to focus on Ljubljana, I don't believe that prices will go down in the future. Also, we didn't felt this on Corona crisis. Of course, there was less transaction for individual residential sale, but not. But if the prices will remain, I believe that all the remaining properties, residential, can be sold. So I believe that in Ljubljana, the prices won't decrease in the future.
Okay. Mr. Blatnik, would you like to give your perspective on
maybe
this?
In the future about the residential? I believe soon we have in Slovenia some residential funds just to rent some apartments for living. We know we have in Slovenia just a government agency or a local agency, but I believe maybe in a few years we can get some big residential funds with will do maybe 100, 200 units and then rent that apartments for residential for living. That will be very, very good, and that possibility will change a little bit apartments for rent, the prices, and people could choose the good and the bad residential area or apartments. About the new offices or trends, I believe new buildings will become more greener, much more greener than today. There will be also maybe also that office building will be also built in some underdeveloped and underprivileged cities. We can talk about around the Ljubljana, maybe, I don't know, Domžale, Vrhnika. It's because if we are talking about maybe some IT company, it's not necessary that they have some offices in the center of Ljubljana. You can make business all around the Slovenia.
Yes, I don't mean to take away that from Ljubljana. Can I just interrupt you briefly? But as you pointed out as well, Slovenia is a small country, and you know, if you set up an office or if you want commercial premises in Celje, it takes you an hour to get to Ljubljana if that's your focus of business. But you don't need to be based in Ljubljana. Is it okay that I point this out as well? That there is an opportunity there as well?
Yes, yes. It's also there's an opportunity on whole area is in Celje or Maribor or Kranj or some other cities like also we heard before about Ajdovščina or also Koper with some projects or port of Luka and some other things. And maybe I would like to say that about what will happen in future. I believe because of the optimization and the relocation, some companies, they want to move outside the city. Cities, we can get a very big new location, and that's the opportunity for the big player, big real estate player from outside, and they could buy that property and then start new development, some programs. That will be in the future, in a few years, I think.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Mr. Velchanin, can I ask you what just to tweak this question a little bit again, because you come from Ajdovščina. What is your strategy going forward? What do you expect? Where do you expect the demand to grow, and what are your plans to face it to meet that demand?
Well, people say that the mayors are like a professional optimists, and even if I wasn't, I would say that the future, for sure, there is a bright future. And I believe that the demand on all sectors will be rising, and that most of the opportunities will be actually fulfilled in the next 10 years, however, generating new ones. It goes the same with Ajdovščina, for example. So I really believe that now when we have done really a tremendous work on new working positions on our economy, that we will successfully fulfill the demand on housing, so on housing issues. Then, of course, also the infrastructure for and premises for offices, shops, and so on will follow. In general, we have growth on all the areas, and I believe it will be the same in the future. So we're really looking, as a municipality, we are looking on the whole situation as on a puzzle with different parts that we actually have to combine, and all the focus should be put on all at the same time, and that is also our actually recipe for the future. We will mainly focus on residential buildings, on infrastructure for high-tech companies, on premises for high-tech companies, and in the field of tourism. That's actually the three main pillars also for the future. However, we are willing to work with the companies and the economy that is already here in the municipality, and of course with all the newcomers.
Lovely. Thank you very much. I'm just going to check briefly how much time do I have left. 1 minute, quickly. Vision for the future. Ms. Tudovic? For the sector.
Well, I already talked about the vision for the future. I think we can expect some changes in the law. So it would make opportunities bigger for investors. That's generally the main focus for me, or my greatest expectation.
Okay. Mr. Pfeiffer, briefly.
Yes, as already said, residential real estate was already mentioned in the presentation before by Mr. Udovic. Bigger houses, shelter houses, on the good location and as far of commercial, logistic, bigger office space.
Lovely, thank you. Mr. Blatnik?
Yeah, use brownfield. That's my point.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Bochanin, briefly.
For sure, high quality of life for our people and a lot of business opportunities for the investors.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Thank you to all of you. And thank you for such insightful answers. And thank you to our viewers who've been diligently following us online. We will now wrap up this part of the conference and go to a short break before we conclude today's event with the final panel, where we will look at the reasons behind Slovenia's successful innovative companies. See you shortly.
Those who trust us appreciate our great geostrategic location. In the last 2 decades, we've also proven ourselves as a trustworthy business partner. Technologically advanced, sustainable, and innovative products helped us boost that trust and made us one of the fastest growing CEE countries. As well as a valued member of leading international associations. Trust in cutting-edge, sustainable and innovative products established our companies as global leaders in niche markets. We've become an important R&D player in the region. Because we know that innovative business needs innovative people. Who have a talent for creating value. Our open, stable, and competitive FDI environment, recognized by many global companies. Starting a business is fast and simple. Apart from pro-business climate, Slovenia is a perfect environment to work and live in. Slovenia, a land of infinite potential for your business. Make the most of it.
My first experience of Slovenia was so much more than I expected. I had to come back. Now that I've been here a few times, I know this much. It might be small in size, but it's big in its achievements. Now I know it's green. And not only because forests cover more than half its land, but because everyone is working to protect the environment. From innovative pioneers in light aviation to greenhouses heated with geothermal water, while smart sensors control its production. And creators of sustainable zero-emission houses that are in sync with nature. Now, I also know that it's creative. Not just because of its unique achievements in sustainable construction engineering, but also because it manufactures sports equipment for champions the world over. But Slovenia isn't just green or just creative. It's a fun-loving and free country where groundbreaking ideas come to life. And it's smart. Because Slovenia's know-how is used for automotive testing. And every single car in the world has at least one component made in Slovenia. And because it's one of the leading manufacturers of generic pharmaceuticals. Of course, Slovenia is already famous for its hospitality and locally grown food. And its engineers never stop working on cutting-edge automation. While its companies constantly push the barriers in technological innovation. And all because of its brilliant people, educated and reliable, multilingual and talented, who can improve the quality of your life or even help you reach the stars. Now I've been here, I know that Slovenia is a land of infinite potential with fantastic opportunities. Which one will you take? Slovenia, a land of infinite potential for your business. Make the most of it.
Welcome back. I'm still here. Let's get straight into it. We are now going to be joined by a panel who will give you an insight into Slovenia's startup scene and innovative spirit. But to give us some food for thought, Mr. Matej Rus, co-founder of Tovarne Podjemo, senior lecturer and head of Startup Slovenia, he will give us an overview of the startup culture in Slovenia. Mr. Rus, please go ahead.
So my name is Matej Rus and I'm a head of Startup Slovenia. And today I will talk about the Slovenia as a land of startups. So Startup Slovenia is a platform that connects all the dots of the Slovenian startup ecosystem. And this startup ecosystem is thriving and is really quickly developing in last years. So please next. So if we talk about Slovenian startup ecosystem, we can see that we have more and more developing or really successful startups and scale-ups. Okay, also some failures, but we learned out of them. And also more and more investors are investing money into the ecosystem, in the technology companies, and especially those that already exited their entrepreneurial ventures. They really make a huge boost to the ecosystem. And last year, we can also observe that corporates are seeking partnership with startups and scale-ups and trying to use the opportunities of cooperation. If we talk about the governmental support, we can also see that there is really an incentive that more and more support measures are really interconnected and making a huge synergy to the ecosystem. So next, please. So at our startup.si platform, you can see all the, you can take a look at all the startups and scale-ups and also other startups or other stakeholders of the Slovenian startup ecosystem I mentioned before. And at the moment, we have more than 200 startups and scale-ups into the system in so-called startup map. and you can get a detailed information about their status, about their projects, about potential investment they are seeking, and also about the contact details about them. Next, please. So if you would like to get a first-hand experience about Slovenia, about the Slovenian startup ecosystem, about the tech companies, then the best opportunities is to visit Holding Conference, which is in May, each year in May. And there you can meet and talk with stakeholders of our ecosystem. And it's really, the conference really became one of the best or one of the most influential events, not just in Slovenia, but especially in the CE region. Next, please. So we are not connected just in Slovenia. So Startup Slovenia is not just taking care for connecting all the dots on the Slovenian startup ecosystem, but it's also taking care to make Slovenia visible in the European startup ecosystem through European Startup Network Association, and also is connected with the major hubs around the globe, and especially with those ones where Slovenian startups and scale-ups are present and active. And they help us to promote Slovenia and to bring also investors and other experts to Slovenia and make it more connected with the global world. So next, please. So now we can take a look at some representatives of Slovenian startup ecosystem, how they look at it. And I think that the video is the best way to show that.
The last few years have been the first thrilling ride for far-reaching startup story also here in Slovenia. I would say that this is because a few years ago some tireless optimists from different fields of expertise, such as venture capital market, supporting environment, entrepreneurship sector, decided to start playing the so-called startup game. This game has become a success due to a coordinative team with a common vision. I think this was the most important. An open and honest relationship among all partners were and still are the key elements of success.
In the past decade, I would say that the ecosystem in Slovenia evolved from puberty to something a bit more mature. We have seen first successful exits. We have seen a lot of successful startups. We have also seen a lot of fails as well. But I think overall, we are now much better off than we were 12 years ago.
Development of Slovenian ecosystem, as I saw it and experienced it, it happened in like 3 phases, from zero to hobby groups who were meeting and had events in Kiberpipa in the center of Ljubljana, to then first incubators of different universities, to now first more internationally oriented accelerators such as ABC, and also first unicorns like Outfit. So I think there was some progress, but there's still a lot of work to do.
The challenge that Slovenian startups or ecosystem that we have, I think, of course, we are a small market, very good and very quality market, but small. So a lot of services or support things, they don't really consider Slovenia as a priority to enter. So this is where I'm talking about. It's Kickstarter, Stripe, and things like this, even Uber. So because we are small, we are not on their radar, but we need to tell them that they have to come here, and we need to promote much more and be much more louder so that they know that Slovenia exists, that we are actually really good, they have very quality startups, and that it's a great opportunity for others to come to Slovenia.
So for Slovenian ecosystem to become more competitive, a very good step is already event like Podim and attracting even more international investors and founders to events like Podim.
I think it would be extremely nice to see the whole country and all the people
would understand the importance of this startup ecosystem for everybody in Slovenia. I would like to see them, that every employee in public sector would know of what, why is it significantly important to have successful startup companies or tech companies. And at the same time, if we have this understanding, in all in public sector and private sector, it would be much easier to create an environment, a tax environment, a business environment, where startups wouldn't just look for more friendly environment for themselves and look how they'll go somewhere else, but they would stay here. Therefore, I would really like to see some of the startup guys becoming like a rock stars here. Not the startup guys, but the successful entrepreneurs becoming rock stars and kind of role models, not just for startup guys, but also for broader audience, because that's probably the thing that's significantly different here compared to some Silicon Valley or some other startup ecosystems.
I think that from year to year, we are much more successful on crowdfunding. Just in 2016, our success rate on Kickstarter was 55%, and the average in the whole world is only 35%. So shows that we are doing a good job.
If or when I exit for 1 billion, I would like to help other entrepreneurs to make big companies.
So you could see a lot of success stories, and we are also here to share these success stories. So we wrote about Outfit 7, our unicorn company, about Outbrain taking over Zemanta company, and also the latest about Birdie House that got more than they collected more than $1 million on Kickstarter platform recently. So next, please. So, and it's not just successful companies; it's also the support measurement systems. So the government doesn't provide just financial incentives, but also improve the program in the way that offers also consulting and mentorship in the line with financial incentives. And these financial incentives are really to leverage private investments. So next, please. So when we are talking about private investments, then they can, their investments could be also, they could get also the public support in the manner of grants, convertible loans, SK 75,000 convertible loan, and also in matching investments in the range of 600 up to 600,000 euros under the same conditions that private investor invest. Next, please. So here are some cases like Ola Audio, like Modri Planet, and Carlog. All of them got public money, and all of them get also the private investors on board. And in synergy, they developed quite well. And you can find more information about them on our platform, startup.si, where you can see what's their status, contact information, and you are more than welcome to contact to get into contact with them. Next, please. So if you would like to get more information about Slovenian startup ecosystem, what's going on, so who are the main actors, and to get closer to opportunities in Slovenia, then you are more than welcome to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, on LinkedIn, and also follow media articles about activities in Slovenia. Next, please. And you're also more than welcome to connect with me personally on LinkedIn. And I'm really glad to share with you insights, connections, and whatever you need to make that. I will just help you to make it happen in Slovenia. Thank you for your listening.
Thank you, Mr. Rus. That was really informative. Can I now welcome the rest of our panel that will join us for this segment? And that's Mr. Jure Pučko. He's Director of UVC Solutions. Hi. Mr. Aleš Ugošek, he's Head of the Technological Development and Innovation at the Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Slovenia. Hi. And Mr. Janko Burgar, the CGO and Senior Business Development Manager at Cozy Lab. Hello to you as well. Okay. At the presentation, we saw that, Mr. Rus, this is for you. The number of startups in Slovenia is increasing. Can you tell us what are the reasons behind this?
Yeah, I think that Slovenian population is quite innovative, and that we have obviously a lot of role models. And I do believe that there is a huge interest of people to become independent, to take their future in their own hands, and I think that's the biggest reason to try to exploit opportunities in the entrepreneurial sector.
Mm-hmm. And within which sectors do most startups emerge lately?
So I do believe that almost all startups are somehow connected with information technologies, but basically they cover all the sectors, like from medical to also to agriculture, to production of different hardware and software products. So mainly in all sectors.
Mm-hmm. And how successful are they internationally? Actually, no, can I just first ask you, how do they seek funding right now? What is the most common way that they seek funding?
Yeah, basically all of them are basically seeking public money first, and then getting some more private investments from business angels, from venture capital industry. And also, there are also some cases where they go to Kickstarter, where we have really a lot of really successful cases. And there are also some superstars that they go already directly to Silicon Valley, to global investors without seeking any public support. So we have quite a mixture of everything, and some entrepreneurs already had some successful entrepreneurial story behind. They finance their own ventures by themselves.
Okay, and just one more, I apologize to the rest of the panel, just have one more question for Mr. Rus. How successful are they internationally, the Slovenian startups?
Now we have a whole spectrum of success, from failure to the huge success. So it's like, I think that we are in average, we are the same success as other countries. Maybe we are still lacking more unicorn companies. I think that we are capable to do more globally successes, and the future will definitely bring more unicorns to Slovenia.
Okay, thank you very much. In the video, Mr. Pučko, this is for you. In the video, it was mentioned that we need startup rock stars to give us global recognition. Your company has developed a robot that disinfects a room, a hospital room, and even an ambulance in a matter of seconds. Given the current crisis, crisis, do you think you could be one of the rock stars?
I can say that we're doing our best to get there. See, already finished. We're doing our best to get there. It's an opportunity for us. It's also an opportunity for all the other players on the market. Fortunately, let's say the UVC market is still underdeveloped. It's very virgin market, which means that there is a lot of room for us and also competition. So we like to encourage competition to build market together. And yeah, I think all of us are working in the direction that someday exit happens. If it's going to be a unicorn or not, we'll see.
Okay, what sort of support did you receive when you were developing SteriPro?
So I think that, as Matej already said, I think that the natural or most likely companies go firstly to public support because it's much easier to bootstrap until you start to find venture capitalists or investors who are who have let's say more strong demands also on their side. but also your product has to be a bit more or much more mature. So we got the P2 funding from public offers, if you want it like this, and we applied for some tenders and we also got them. So very grateful for this. This is supported by, of course, the country and the EU.
Okay, thank you for that. Let's talk about workforce a little bit. In Slovenia, we pride ourselves on the quality of our workforce, especially in innovation. And, you know, there are some facts to back this up. As it was mentioned in the first panel, you know, UNESCO's first AI research hub is set up in Slovenia. More than 40% of our students attend engineering courses. Maribor is one of 8 sites for EU supercomputers, and our Josef Stefan Institute is a globally renowned research organization. And lastly, of course, Talking Tom mobile application has taken the world by storm, is a product of Slovenian minds, for which me as a mom, I'm very grateful for. And this shows 2 things, the quality of workforce, as I mentioned at the beginning, and the great cooperation between industry and academia. So I would like to ask all our panelists to comment on this. And I'll start with you, Mr. Ugovšek, if I may.
Well, yeah, thank you. I think that the quality of workforce in Slovenia, in companies especially, is actually very high, but we should not directly relate engineering and innovation. They are indirectly or in some cases also directly related, but we should not mix this. But the question, I think the more question is how companies actually use the talent of the workforce, because some companies do this perfectly, but on the other side, there is a lot of companies that they have fantastic workforce, but they don't know how to use their talent, and they are using their talent and they are also using their workforce and they go to better companies. But however, these are the reasons that we have some very successful and really fantastic cases that you already mentioned. But we must be honest, and this is not also just for Slovenia, but also for other countries, that we have limited amount of really good companies if we talk about innovation. And there is also a lot of buzz and hype around innovation. And I can say that we have very good companies that go into innovation deeply, but we have much more companies that are touching innovation and they don't go deep enough. And we have a lot of space for innovation in Slovenia. But however, on the other side, yes, we are collaborating, companies are collaborating with academia, for example, a lot. We just finished one pilot analysis among 99 Slovenian innovative companies, and 88% of Slovenian innovative companies, they collaborate with academia. And then we have some other facts. For example, 35% of these companies, they cooperate with cultural and creative industries. And 20% of them, they integrate startups that Matej was talking about. They integrate them into their development processes. So these are just few numbers about our good companies. And yes, this is really good benchmark also for other companies. Yeah, okay. That much.
No, that was very informative. Thank you. Mr. Burger, how would you like to add to this?
Let's say that, yeah, the workforce is really important. However, I'm also very glad that the Slovenian ecosystem and Slovenia is a great place to live and a great place to, let's say, for doing business. And that's why also we at COSELab are really glad that we can attract, let's say, the skilled experts from all over the world. We have here, let's say, in COSELab, the guys from the region. We have the guys from Iran. We have the guys from the States, from Switzerland, China, neighboring countries, so from all over the world. And this is really the great opportunity, not only for COSELab, but also for other companies. It is great to rely on, let's say, Slovenian guys, great experts, but we really have to do everything to get also skilled experts from abroad to work here in Slovenia and to contribute to our development. And what is then very important, it is really the leadership, because the workforce is here. It is up to us, and the leadership is on the other hand, let's say, of utmost important. So to attract people, to give them great challenges, normal salary. And I believe that Slovenia is a great place for living and for doing business at the same time. It's really attractive for the companies and for experts to do and to come to Slovenia.
Mr. Rus, would you like to comment on this as well, please?
Yeah, I do deeply believe that our schooling system is quite well and competitive. And what also shows that also those companies that got international investors and they moved their headquarters to US or London or some other hubs, that they kept all the R&D parts of the company here in Slovenia. So they have a lot of employees here, and would never do probably if the quality of the people would not be on the same level as in other countries. And I deeply believe that it's a huge opportunity, and especially the cooperation between academia and companies is still a secret, some secret reserve we could exploit in the future, because it's like, if I judge this segment, then I would say that cooperative research, or it's already on a high level, and also government is supporting this cooperation with a lot of incentives. But starting a business out of academia is still not regulated very well. So I think that deeply believe that here is a huge potential and some secret reserve that we could exploit in the future.
I'm going to go back to, I want to explore that further, the cooperation between academia and the industry. But Mr. Puchko, would you like to just comment on the workforce as well? Do you have, is it mostly Slovenians working in your company? And
mostly Slovenians, probably because it's, so we are a hardware company, which means that we have a production line and production workers. We do have international colleagues, mostly for sales. Currently I mean, I'm maybe a bit of a old school guy, and I think that it's easier to work with people which you can be in contact with physically. I'm aware that it's not the future, so we'll have to learn how to work with everybody remotely. So even though if it's easier, we still have to keep our eyes open on other markets when employing, especially because nowadays it's going to be harder to travel, which means that you will have people on the ground in a certain country which will help you see what's happening in that country, what you won't be able to do from here.
Okay. As I said, I want to explore the cooperation between academia and industry a bit further. And you've mentioned, Mr. Ugoshek, that the 88%, can you just help me out? 88% of startups collaborate with the academia?
No, not only startups. So it is 88% of 99 Slovenian companies. So from startups to large companies, they collaborate with academia. And we are talking about 100 companies that are on the higher scale of innovativeness in Slovenia.
So how would you assess the collaboration between academia and the industry? Regardless of how big the companies are, what is your perception?
Well, from my personal experiences, yes, direct relations to academia are always the best. I think that we have still too much in mind that academia is working on basic research and companies are doing like applied science and applications, but there is sweet spot in between, and academia they really want to work with companies, and also companies need academia. So there is a lot of people in academia that just wait and they seek for opportunities. And on the other hand, on the other side in companies, there are needs. So just go dive in and yes, just jump. There is a lot of these opportunities. And also our Republic of Slovenia, we have quite a lot of platforms. For example, we have strategic partnerships And on this strategic partnership, in these partnerships, we have a lot of relations between companies and academia. So it is not a fresh ground. It is something that is well established, but just a little bit of not help, but braveness and yes.
Okay, yeah, Mr. Burger, in your experience from your company, how is your?
Perhaps COSILAB is, let's say, one of the great examples how academia and research institutions may foster the, let's say, the really high-tech development. I don't know, I believe that most of you know that COSILAB started, and they started its venture as a spin-off of Institute Joseph Stefan, and that's why we still do understand very well how this kind of academia and research sphere really behave here in Slovenia. And COSILAB is also the partner of, let's say, perhaps all of the main, let's say, scientific projects all over the world. So it is as also Mr. Rus stressed, that it is a hidden potential still here that we have to motivate the experts from academia to, let's say, to start the businesses and to, let's say, to speed up the process of transferring, of transformation of this scientific research to the entrepreneurial world. And how to cooperate? It is always, the first step is we have to know each other better. We have to understand each other better, and this is then the open space for the collaboration. The legal framework is also there, and it may be, let's say, still also the some potential to, let's say, to motivate the industry and especially the research part to, let's say, be more cautious and to have more, let's say, more courage to step into onto the side of entrepreneurship.
Thank you, Mr. Puchko. How is your what is your experience of working with academia, if there is any?
Well, we had some, so we were not. It was more of a, let's say, occasional, not focused. I'm sure that there are definitely better ways to approach than we did, and there is a lot of knowledge there. So I don't really have a lot of experience here, and
okay.
It's hard for me.
Okay, that's okay. Mr. Rus, how would you assess this collaboration? Is there much room for improvement, or have we reached our peak? Is everything there?
There is always a way, there is always a space for improvement, for sure. And as I said, I believe that starting new companies out of university, new spin-offs, spin-outs, attracting special capital meant for technology transfer, that's something that is a huge potential for our universities, because we are really on a high level on research excellence on the global scale. But in comparison with how much we earn out of that in sense of licensing or commercialization revenues, it's not so high. So I do believe that there are some obstacles in legislation still, because university can't own startups and spin-off companies, but also in the culture, but with the role models as COSILAB and others. These, more and more role models are like showing that there is a way, that if it's a will. And I think also I have some news about the future, or some insights into the future activities here also in the space of venture capital, especially meant for technology transfer. And I'm really, really positive about the future developments in this space.
Okay, lovely, thank you. Talking about corporate, yes, Mr. Govšek. Go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to add one thing, because Janko expressed that really well, that COSILAB started out of institute. If you had some kind of experience from academia or from institute, I also have it. It is much easier because you have direct connections. But if you don't have, there are organizations in Slovenia for example, our Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Slovenia. Then we have technology transfer offices at university in Slovenia, and these are points that can really good connect companies and researchers. So just reach them.
And this doesn't just apply to Slovenian companies. This applies to any foreign companies that are thinking of setting up a base here.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Okay. Let's stay with cooperation, collaboration. Mr. Burgar, COSILAB is behind the drive to set up a regional center for proton therapy, which highlights the opportunity and possibly the necessity for regional cooperation. And healthcare is just one aspect of it. Why do you think it is necessary and to have regional cooperation? Sorry, that sounds a bit harsh, but and what are the opportunities in having a regional focus? I didn't mean to be that harsh.
Yeah, thank you, Maya. Thank you, Maya, for question. Let's say that I skip this this moment to say good afternoon to all the participants and audience, and thank for the invitation. And it's great that we already heard a lot about the main building blocks of an efficient entrepreneurial ecosystem that Slovenia already has. And Slovenian Proton Therapy Center for Cancer Treatment that Maya mentioned definitely brings together all those and also some others. We discussed a lot about cooperation. And what we are working on is the National Center for Cancer Treatment with the regional dimension that call for cooperation and brings together all the necessary competencies from different stakeholders. First of all, from medical and healthcare scene, where we work closely with the Oncology Institute, from the research part, that the medical physics group that is located in the Institute of Stefan is a partner. Definitely industry, where COSILAB, also because of our excellence in the PT work to the global scale, is the leading partner, and when also the Chamber of Commerce and Slovenian Engineering Academy are really eager in supporting the project. And of course, there are oncology patients. Since Proton Therapy Center here in Slovenia has the main focus to bring the benefit for them at the national level and also to offer the most advanced therapy to meet the needs of the region. Not to forget the policy level, Ministry of Health and the line ministries, Health Insurance Institute, financial institutions, so potential investments. Then at the end, municipality of Ljubljana, because the location is important. So we are really striving to, let's say, to get the cooperation and let's say to introduce the project in a way that all the stakeholders will understand what we are doing. So cooperation and common understanding are the buzzwords in this project. SCPTC is demanding project from different perspectives. So the healthcare, the capital investment is really demanding, the technology is very demanding, how to operate the operation is also what we have to take into consideration. And last but not least, the introduction of modern approach to demanding investment using PPP in the public healthcare that will be acceptable for our system is also something that we are facing, and we discuss with different stakeholders how to introduce the modern PPP approach to in creating the outstanding and world-class research and medical infrastructure. But Slovenia needs that kind of investments to grow faster. This is my strong belief, and to upgrade the existing competencies for Slovenia and from Slovenia for the region. This is really important, not only for Slovenia, but we have to spread our competencies and we have to invite the region to participate and to become the partner. And we already are the center of excellence in radiotherapy, and Slovenia has a great competencies already among all the stakeholders. And by introducing SCPTC, we are on the way to become the part of the most advanced centers in EU and at the global level. And this is what Slovenia needs and also can offer. Last but not least, the approach we use with the SCPTC is also aligned with the EU strategies. So EU perspective and their program Beating Cancer. Because the purpose of and goal of Europe's Beating Cancer plan should be to organize society and our economy in such way as to benefit EU citizens, cancer patients, and survivors. To achieve the goal, we need a patient-centered and right-based approach with justice, sustainability, equality, solidarity, and collaboration again. And just once again, Slovenia needs and also can offer this to region, to Europe, to let's say, to the world.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Burger. I want to ask the rest of you, in terms of, Slovenia does have a really good standing in the region, and as Mr. Burger also mentioned, they have in COSILAB people working from all over the world, including from the region, and the talent from Serbia and Croatia and Bosnia and the rest of the former Yugoslavia, they do want to come here and work. How can, within this sector, within the innovative sector, the startup scene, how can we explore this further? Where are the advantages and where are the opportunities here? Mr. Rus, if I can ask you to answer first.
Yes, so I deeply believe, yeah, so it's, we are quite well connected with Western Balkan, with the ex-Yugoslavia territory, and they see us as a well-developed and also as an opportunity to develop or to work with us, and also as an entrance. Also, some countries are still not part of the EU, and see Slovenia as a window to the EU. Maybe I'm lacking a little bit more cooperation in with the DACH region, with the northern and western parts of our neighborhood. But I'm really positive about how they see us and how we see them. And working here from Slovenia, we have quite well connections into the region. So I don't know what to say more, because I do think that there are more opportunities still not exploited in this regard, so that we didn't use or we didn't exploit this opportunity as from the location, in the future we can for sure do that. But also not forget the third countries' talents. We are really trying to enforce the visas for talents for technology companies in Slovenia, and that's on a really high priority agenda of the startup community and technology companies, because as Janko mentioned before, they also employed somebody from Iran and other countries, and we would like to see here to go one step forward, so to make it really easy for our technology companies to employ talents all over the world.
Mr. Ugovšek, would you like to add anything to this?
Yes, I have also personal experience from my previous workplace. We were actually employing a PhD researcher from Serbia, and the biggest challenge was first to get the talent from Serbia or from other third countries, or however we call this, from Western Balkan, because we must understand that, okay, we are well positioned here, but Slovenia is not the only country that is competing for these talents. Also Germany, also Austria and other European countries are competing for these talents from Western Balkan. So if we can compete also with salaries for them, this is one very important thing that we must have in mind. And even if we got talents from Western Balkan and third states, many times they have in mind to move further on to Western European Union. So this is first issue. And yes, the second one, as Matej said, getting visa. Getting visa for a Serbian PhD researcher, this was like a nightmare. It took us like 3 months to complete everything. And yes, we were also working with one guy from Iran to get him here in Slovenia, and this was even tougher. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know, Janko, what is your experience here?
Maya, if I may add, let's say I would like to thank Matej, let's say also in this event, because we together started an efficient action with the Ministry of Economy, together with the Ministry of Education and Ministry of Labor. It was a year or 2 years ago, because right now, let's say the fast-growing companies that are in register may apply for working permit for that, let's say for an experts, by using the fast-track procedure. I don't know how well known is this in Slovenia, but it is really something that we have to spread between, let's say, among the countries, among, let's say, institutions, because it is really open for, let's say, for the fast-growing companies that are in the register, and the register is open in the Slovene Enterprise Fund, I believe, so that this is the record is there. And it might be great, let's say, just to show the community that this is one of the advantages of the Slovene entrepreneurial ecosystem. If you want to attract, if you want to bring in Slovenia an expert in the company, or I don't know what is for the startup scene, Matej will explain what is about regarding the startups, but it is really important that the procedure for us takes only 1 week. And this is one thing that it is unimaginable even for Austria.
Okay, that's well pointed out. Thank you for that, Mr. Burgar.
Maya, sorry, just
yes,
to
yes,
add something.
go ahead, please.
Yes, yes, Janko, this is very well that you mentioned, because I didn't know about that quick procedures. Just wanted to add, but when researchers come to Slovenia, they are fascinated. They feel great, and they really like to stay in Slovenia and to work in Slovenia. Yeah. So this is something that maybe people don't know, but yes, when they come to Slovenia, they say, wow.
Yeah. Yes, as I said early on at the first panel, you know, we are very good at promoting. So, no, but it is true. Okay, can I? I'm just going to ask Mr. Rus quickly before we run out of time, and I want you to tell us: are there any startups? This is totally out of the debate, but are there any startups that you'd like to mention today that are, you know, looking for investors at the moment?
There are plenty of startups looking for investments in different phase of their life cycle. I can just maybe mention some of startups that I don't know exactly if they're seeking now the money, but I'm maybe proud of that are coming out in Slovenian startup ecosystem, like Blue that working with kids that they have with some like disabilities. And I do believe that we have a lot of companies that are seeking money for also providing services and products with a good cost, so that they are helping like children in this case. So it's a lot of companies, and would rather direct all the listeners to the startup map, where they can find like really actual data about which companies there is here, how much money they are seeking, with the contact information. And if they would like to get more information, they can just like call me or send me email or contact me via LinkedIn, and I would be really glad to share with them more details, and personally also put them in the contact with the founders.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Thanks for that. Okay, 2 more questions. One is for anyone thinking of setting up an R&D office in Slovenia, why would they do so? In 3 sentences, Mr. Puchko.
Depends on what the company is. So definitely a lot of talent, easy to access new information, to test the market. People are very helpful, at least from our experience. Whenever you want some feedback from the market, it's firstly geographically easy, so nothing is too far away. And secondly, people are willing to help. So I think it's a great opportunity to use Slovenia for this kind of explorations or expansions.
Thank you. Mr. Ugošek?
Yes, I will just add 2 words to Jure. I will say knowledge and hospitality.
Lovely. Straight to the point. Thank you. Mr. Burgar, what about you? What stands out?
Yeah, the living standard here in Slovenia and life-work balance is really in favor of Slovenia. Despite the fact that Slovenia is not a big country, I believe that Slovenia is right-sized country. It's really right-sized country to do business, to do R&D, because we know each other all very well. And you can find in a small municipality like Ljubljana is the whole, let's say, all the necessary support and the competencies you need. And this is really a treasure. Let's say it is really a brilliant opportunity. But not only Ljubljana. Slovenia is right-sized country. You can find in Slovenia everyone and do business globally. And there are no limitations. What we lack is really the market. But Slovenia can be easily used as a demo site. So let's say to use, and let's say for the first application, Slovenia is a great place to introduce new services, new products, and these are main bonuses why to introduce R&D department here in Slovenia.
To introduce new services, new products in Slovenia, is that, as Mr. Puchko said, because it's a smaller market and you can test the product. It's easy to test the product.
As a demo site, as a pilot market, and you can then check. Yeah, definitely.
Mr. Puchko, you are keeping your offices in Slovenia.
Absolutely.
Mr. Rus, what would you add to this?
Sorry, just finish it. I think.
Sorry, I apologize.
No worries. Work-life balance, quality of life. If you've been traveling you see that we can be very happy here.
Absolutely. Mr. Rus?
Yeah, so I believe that our talents, they have high knowledge, and also they are humble, not spoiled. So they like to work, they're innovative, they are satisfied with the normal salary here. It's still not overheated like market for talents here. And I do believe that the companies that settle here, their R&D departments, they can get a quality talent for normal price, and also the talent that it's can share the same or can adapt to the culture of the company, and is also innovative and could bring a huge benefits to the company.
Thank you. What about the future? Where do you see the innovations in different sectors? You can pick. Where do you see it going in the next 5-10 years in Slovenia? How do you see our innovation sector, our innovative market evolving, developing? Mr. Ugovšek.
Yes, we have some specific parts in Slovenia, parts of industry in Slovenia that are very well established. For example, pharmacy in Slovenia is very well established. We are working a lot also with startups on artificial intelligence and in automatization of our factories and yes, industry. Then there are a lot of researches and also applied researches, for example, in the field of hydrogen fuels, for example. And then, yes, these are also, food industry is increasing. Yeah, these are, let's say, few of them. And we have also Cozy Lab here that are especially good in their part, and yes, many others. Automotive industry.
Absolutely. Mr. Burger, how would you comment on this?
Let's say, in my opinion, we have a great challenge in front of us, because we have to introduce some new processes, how to invite the public sector to participate and to become an important player in the change management and introducing improvements in the public sector on a different levels. We are now working closely with the public healthcare, and as you know, definitely, if you want to introduce anything new, the main problem is that yes, the change is okay, but as far as not is introduced in my domain. So that's why we have to encourage, we have to invite different stakeholders to participate and to introduce the changes, because it is really important, since the public sector is really the creator of our society, of all the legal frameworks that enable or block definitely the changes in our neighborhood. And since new technologies are coming, and these new technologies may really let's say, may really bring so many advantages, it is important how to bring all the stakeholders behind the same table and how to move into the right direction to the progress of the whole society. This, in my opinion, is really the crucial part if you want to make the Slovenia as a modern and happy society also in the future. Not only several companies, not only some institutions, but Slovenia as a society. And we are trying to do this also with our Slovene Proton Therapy Center project, or let's say initiative. And I may say that let's say we are making small steps, but we are improving, in my opinion, in the right direction.
Thank you. Before I move on, we do have a question from one of our listeners. How competitive is Slovenian startup environment in comparison to Germany, Austria, or Italy? Mr. Rus, would you like to answer that, or Mr. Ugovšek? Mr. Rus?
Yeah. So if we talk about let's say about the founders or about the investment opportunities, I do believe that we are quite competitive. So if we compare now Slovenia with Austrian system or with Germany, I would say that the size of the market is the only thing that I could really quickly see that it's like a negative, like something which is not on the same level, but we can overtake that because we are. So our companies are meant global from the point zero. So it's not that we think that Slovenia is like even big enough market. So we think about 40 markets all the time. So I don't think that that's like a big problem. And I do believe that with the global connections, with all the opportunities we have, we are really we have no really big disadvantages here.
Okay, lovely. Thank you. And just to lead on to my previous question, if I can just ask Mr. Puchko, what do you see in the next 5 years? How do you see the sector evolving in Slovenia?
So, you know, startups or getting to unicorn is a game of failing, right? A statistics game. It's important to create as much as possible possibilities, try, test, fail, win. And I think Spirit is doing a great job by supporting this, because if people have some, let's say, social security, and you know that they're not worried if they're going to be able to eat if they venture into these kind of dangerous waters, then there is going to be more companies trying to get their share on the market. And if we or, you know, Slovenia or EU or whoever is supporting this, try to understand this and support them, then we are going to have a very, how should I say, a lot of companies who are going to try to win at this game.
Okay, thank you. We have run out of time, I'm afraid, Mr. Rus. I'm sorry, forgive me. So I'm gonna have to close today's session, and I want to thank all of you so much for being with us today, and to all our panelists for taking the time to explain at least a little bit of what's happening here in the 3 sectors we covered. I hope you have found it informative, and I hope you have found it interesting. I also hope you walk away with Slovenia on your mind as your next investment destination. If you have any questions, we at Spirit Slovenia are at your service. Just drop us an email or give us a call. And thank you so much again, and see you soon. Bye.